Pastor David here. I want to leave you with a couple thoughts on what the Bible might have to say on whether or not Christians should wear masks in response to COVID-19. Now, I realize that there is a variety of medical opinions on how effective masks are, whether or not healthy people should wear them at all. I respect the opinions on both sides. I don't claim to have all the answers on this. And I understand there are some that cannot wear masks because of health problems of being constricting their airflow, and so I respect that as well. But for many of us, I'm speaking to moments when we go to a store that's requiring masks for those that are able to wear them. For many, that can cause us to bristle and say, well, who are you to require me to wear a mask? This is a free country. I can make my own decisions. I'm an adult. And that's the common thought of the day for many people. And yet in Jesus, in his most famous sermon ever preached on this earth, he in many ways confronts the common way of thinking, the common very self-focused way of thinking, by beginning to turn and get his audience, which is now us as we read the scriptures, to think about others ahead of ourselves. He does that in Matthew chapter 5, verse 41, when he says, if someone asks of you to go 1 mile, go with them 2. Now, what is Jesus talking about in this passage? Is he talking about going on a leisurely stroll with a friend? Well, no, though that's a great idea. He's talking about the fact that back then, military personnel could walk up to a private citizen and hand them their heavy military pack and require them to walk 1 mile to give them a break. Jesus is saying in this moment that for the oppressive military Roman control the Jewish people, this would seem so unfair to have to do this. Jesus is saying, rather than fight it and complain and resist it, surprise the soldier by going an extra mile. Of course, this is where we get the phrase, go the extra mile. This is what Jesus is teaching each one of us to do today. Is in moments when we can say, this isn't fair, this isn't right, I don't want to have to do this. What if you surprise those around you by going the extra mile and showing love to them at the expense of your own personal preferences? And so if a store requires you to wear a mask, rather than complain or argue with the manager, what if you put on the mask and did it with a smile? What if you showed love and respect to the employees of that store, the management respecting that authority, as well as the customers in that store that maybe appreciate the fact that you are wearing a mask even though you would rather not? I think this really is the biblical way to respond to these moments. Find ways in this time period to show love to those around you, to show compassion to those. We're all strained, we're all stressed in different ways, we're all concerned about what's being done and if it's the right thing. And I don't claim to have all the answers. In all the decisions, in all the research being done, I hope that we would default back to the scriptures and default to saying, how can I show love to those around me, even at the expense of what I would prefer to do? I think that's what Jesus is asking of us. I just prayerfully ask you to consider if Jesus is asking you to do the same thing. Thanks.